Narcissists never believe you will do this because it ends up making them suffer. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for this captivating discussion. Today, we're diving into the intriguing realm of surprising actions that catch narcissists off guard. If you're enjoying the content, don't hesitate to express your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. However, the spotlight of this video shines on a particular action that typically leaves them astounded. But before we unravel that, let's take a moment to reflect on your encounters with narcissists and their impact on your life. What kind of dynamic did you experience, and how has it influenced your journey? Often, engaging with a narcissistic individual occurs without recognizing the telltale signs, driven by a lack of awareness or understanding of narcissism. It's easy to attribute relationship challenges to merely enduring a rough patch, perhaps attributing the issues to the individual's personal struggles or their mistreatment of you. Yet, the notion of narcissism might not have crossed your mind. Despite this, you persisted in investing your time, energy, and emotions into the relationship. As previously discussed, your unwavering commitment to the relationship led to a gradual erosion of various facets of your life: your time, finances, social connections, and even your well-being. Essentially, you poured yourself into a relationship that yielded little in return, leaving you depleted. Meanwhile, the narcissist actively sabotaged your efforts, akin to puncturing holes in a canoe while you navigated against the current. Their objective? To ensure your vessel sank while they smoothly transitioned to the next target in line. The intricate dance of narcissistic abuse is a labyrinth of manipulative strategies, all meticulously crafted to exploit your innate kindness and compassion. While you extended your hand in generosity, the narcissist eagerly grasped, leaving behind a trail of devastation. It's imperative to grasp the fundamental disparity between your mindset and that of the narcissist. They dwell in a realm devoid of introspection and accountability, opting instead to feed off others until they are drained, then callously discarding them. One must recognize that the next target in the narcissist's crosshairs often arrives swiftly, clad in the guise of a fresh face. Just as they once sought solace in your presence as the new source of supply, they will inevitably gravitate towards another unsuspecting soul once your reserves have been exhausted. Whether it's a rekindled acquaintance, a resurrected flame, or an entirely novel individual, the pattern remains unchanged: exploit, discard, and move on to the next conquest. A multitude of factors converge to sustain the vicious cycle of narcissistic abuse. It's paramount to acknowledge that this cycle persists relentlessly, with the narcissist serving as the unwavering focal point. They are keenly aware of the psychological web they weave, acknowledging the suffocating aura of anxiety that envelops their existence. Armed with their chameleon-like abilities, they don masks of deception, driven by sporadic impulses to assert dominance. Living with a narcissist is akin to traversing a maze between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where every twist and turn brings uncertainty and emotional turmoil. Victims find themselves on a relentless roller coaster ride, never quite sure of the true nature of their relationship. So when faced with the cold shoulder or verbal onslaught from their partner, where does one seek solace? Many turn to the vast expanse of the internet, hoping to glean rare pearls of wisdom amidst the overwhelming sea of information. This marks the genesis of a transformative journey towards self-discovery and enlightenment about narcissism. The narcissist, caught off guard by the victim's burgeoning awareness, never anticipated such scrutiny. Having meticulously assessed their prey's desires, strengths, and vulnerabilities at the relationship's inception, they crafted a carefully curated image to ensnare their target. Viewing the victim as little more than a pawn to satisfy their ceaseless hunger for validation and dominance, the narcissist skillfully weaves a facade of charm to cloak their true intentions. As the victim unwittingly succumbs to the narcissist's manipulations, their vitality and resources dwindle, leading to eventual abandonment once their utility wanes. This cyclical pattern is all too familiar to the narcissist, who effortlessly moves on to the next unsuspecting victim, leaving behind a wake of shattered connections. In the aftermath of it all, the narcissist never imagined your resilience in piecing yourself back together. Take a moment to replay this crucial segment of the video in your mind. They were fully aware of the harm inflicted upon you, deliberately subjecting you to abuse on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or even decadal basis. They knew that eventually something would give. Either you'd break free or they'd discard you. Alternatively, you could remain trapped in the zombie-like grip of narcissistic manipulation. If you've endured this, share your reflections below. Your identity became entangled with theirs. You felt drained and defeated, each day sapping your energy further. The narcissist never banked on your resilience, your ability to confront narcissism head-on, to embrace radical acceptance, and to recognize your inherent abundance, beauty, and inner radiance, qualities sorely lacking in the narcissist. They ensnared you through deceit, manipulation, and coercion, convincing you of your dependence on them. A byproduct of the trauma bond that kept you tethered, oscillating between moments of euphoria and despair like a turbulent emotional roller coaster. This perpetual instability denied you solid footing. Reaching out to the narcissist via call, text, or email was like navigating a minefield, leaving you devoid of stability and unsure of what version of them you'd encounter. The narcissist skillfully disrupted your sense of balance to reinforce the trauma bond, catching you off guard and making it incredibly difficult to break free. Since narcissism isn't commonly taught in academic settings, you were blindsided by this bond, struggling to grasp why everything felt like it was spinning out of control, leaving you consumed by thoughts of the narcissist day and night. Sound familiar? Share your stories. Your attempts to please were met with devaluation. You became an unpaid servant, a perpetual apologist, a never-ending checklist, lost in the narcissistic fog or ensnared by the trauma bond. Unbeknownst to you, you deserved far better, but were intentionally kept in the dark about your own value. Once in their grasp, they further diminished your worth, their interest waned, and they grew tired of you. The initial thrill of pursuit faded once they had you. You became merely a possession, akin to a doll on a shelf, waiting to be used, manipulated, or exploited for resources. They would disappear for hours, days, or weekends, leaving you puzzled. Were they seeking a replacement or tapping into other sources? These alternative sources could be friends, social circles, travel, possessions, or anything else of value. While romantic partners or friends are typical sources of narcissistic supply, it could also come from family members or siblings. Nonetheless, they never foresaw your resilience, your knack for identifying narcissism, comprehending its ramifications, and recognizing the imperative to break free. If you've endured being cast aside, my heart sympathizes with you. Even if you initiated the breakup, the burden of toxicity is burdensome. You've weathered the relentless storm of narcissistic mistreatment. You're akin to a solitary needle in a vast haystack, yet that needle holds the key to your emancipation. The narcissist never desired for you to grasp comprehension, to heal, to liberate yourself. They thrive on deceit, donning masks to entrap their victims in a hypnotic trance. But you've broken the chains. You're embarked on a voyage of healing, evolution, and perchance even enlightenment for others. You're awakening to your inherent value, prioritizing yourself over the narcissist's treacherous snare. You've turned the key, escaped the fog of narcissism, and taken decisive actions, implementing no contact, blocking, deleting, to sever all ties to their venomous influence. Now, absorb this revelation: your narcissistic partner never aspired for closure. They lack the capacity for introspection, accountability, or accepting culpability, impeding their ability to furnish closure. Believing themselves faultless, they evade responsibility for their daily transgressions, propelled by their narcissistic ethos. Despite their continual involvement in an abusive cycle, they stand as the singular constant therein. Their objective is to ensnare and manipulate individuals into relationships, only to ruthlessly discard them afterward. Consequently, narcissists maintain few enduring friendships or relationships. Their offspring often distance themselves upon realizing they've endured abuse. Crafty manipulation is their trademark, yet their victim narrative wears thin. Nevertheless, survivors discover solace and restoration, acknowledging the near devastation wrought by their relationships. Narcissists consistently falter in relationships, past, present, and future, perpetually chasing new wellsprings of validation, aware that contentment eludes them. The narcissist never envisioned your recovery. They underestimated your capacity to mend post-relationship, especially amid trials like a pandemic, surgeries, financial strain, and isolation, exacerbated by their smear campaigns that dismantle your support system. Their abrupt vanishing post-discard betrays their aversion to introspection or accountability. If you've reached this juncture, commend yourself. You've embarked on a voyage of self-discovery, evolution, and restoration. Remember, you merit love, esteem, and joy. You are deserving, complete, and sufficient. Keep forging ahead, one step at a time, toward a brighter narcissist-free tomorrow. Narcissists often project an image of unwavering self-assurance, independence, and superiority, but don't be fooled. What seems like rock-solid confidence is often a meticulously constructed facade, masking their underlying vulnerabilities. In this video, we'll dive into the 8 vulnerabilities that narcissists harbor, shedding light on their behavior and helping you navigate their manipulative schemes effectively. 1. Veiled insecurity. On the surface, narcissists radiate an aura of invincibility, making it easy to overlook their hidden insecurities. Yet, beneath their facade lies a surprising truth. Deep-seated insecurity serves as their Achilles heel. Imagine a towering structure built upon fragile foundations. Despite their efforts to project grandiosity and success, narcissists grapple with inner doubts and fears. These insecurities, rooted in past traumas and experiences, act as a shield, cloaking their vulnerabilities even from themselves. 2. Craving validation. In the realm of narcissist psychology, there's a glaring dependence on external validation. Imagine someone whose self-worth hinges on the approval of others. Narcissists incessantly seek validation and praise, treating it like the lifeblood that sustains their inflated ego. Despite their outward confidence, they're constantly on the hunt for affirmation, grasping at compliments like fleeting sparks that momentarily light up their self-image. However, beneath this facade lies a vulnerability to criticism and rejection, as they rely on external validation to feel significant and powerful. 3. Lack of empathy. Immersed in their own world of grandiosity, narcissists exhibit a profound deficiency in empathy. Their inability to empathize is palpable as they disregard the emotions, perspectives, and needs of those around them. Consumed by their own desires and aspirations, they disregard or minimize the experiences of others. This lack of empathy takes a toll on their relationships, leaving others feeling disconnected and undervalued. Consequently, interactions with narcissists often lack depth and authenticity, breeding distance and distrust. 4. Tyrannical hunger for domination. Narcissists harbor an insatiable thirst for absolute control, extending their grasp over every facet of life, from the mundane to the intimate. They crave dominion, orchestrating circumstances to align with their whims and visions. This compulsive need for control lays bare a vulnerability in their armor. Any challenge to their authority or questioning of their choices can puncture their facade, revealing the fragility lurking beneath. Their reactions range from taking offense and assuming victimhood to more aggressive responses. Control is the lifeblood of narcissists, feeding their sense of pleasure and fortifying their false sense of security through the domination of others. 5. Green-eyed envy and competitive drive. Envy and competitiveness weave a tangled web in the tapestry of narcissistic psychology. Narcissists perpetually measure their self-worth against the achievements and attributes of others, ensnared in a ceaseless cycle of comparison. This perpetual evaluation breeds envy and rivalry whenever they perceive someone else as achieving success, garnering admiration, or commanding attention. However, envy corrodes their relationships, driving them to undermine the accomplishments of others. Regardless of their own achievements, narcissists are consumed by an insatiable hunger for more, propelling themselves into a self-destructive cycle of pursuit. They relentlessly chase fleeting milestones, regardless of their substance or authenticity. Ultimately, they seek to diminish the successes of others to safeguard their own sense of superiority. Viewing the achievements of their peers as a threat, they fail to genuinely celebrate others' well-being, eroding relationships with their toxic and shallow behavior. 6. Shadow of exposure. Beneath the facade of confidence lies a haunting fear of exposure that stalks narcissists incessantly. Despite their outward appearance of self-assurance, they harbor deep insecurities about their true selves. They meticulously uphold a carefully crafted mask, shielding their inner vulnerabilities from the prying eyes of others. The mere suggestion of their true nature being unveiled sends tremors through their carefully constructed world. This fear-driven response manifests as defensiveness, evasion, and sometimes aggression, all in a frantic bid to preserve their meticulously curated image. The social mask becomes their shield against scrutiny, simultaneously feeding their ego and insatiable thirst for validation. 7. Mirror's blindness. Narcissists navigate life with a glaring absence of self-awareness, trapped in a cycle of self-affirmation and deception. Incapable of engaging in objective self-reflection, they persistently justify and defend their actions, regardless of the harm inflicted. This lack of accountability perpetuates a cycle of repeated mistakes, as they remain oblivious to the lessons of their past. Instead of introspection, narcissists deflect blame onto others, refusing to acknowledge their own shortcomings. This dearth of self-awareness stifles personal growth and sabotages meaningful connections, leaving them mired in a perpetual cycle of denial and deflection. 8. Sensory overload to feedback. Within the narcissistic realm, criticism acts as a detonator, triggering a volatile explosion of emotions. Despite their facade of unshakable confidence, even the faintest whisper of critique sets off an exaggerated and tumultuous reaction. Whether it's a minor jab or a well-intended suggestion, narcissists perceive any form of criticism as a direct assault on their perceived grandeur. Ironically, while they freely dispense judgment and disdain toward others, they recoil at the slightest hint of reproach directed at them. This paradoxical response underscores their fragility, as they oscillate between defensive deflection and frenzied attempts to reaffirm their superiority. Their susceptibility to criticism lays bare their vulnerability, as even the gentlest rebuke can ignite a raging inferno of anger and distress. As we've delved into the depths of narcissistic psychology, it becomes evident that their facade of strength is but a flimsy veil, concealing a plethora of vulnerabilities. Their ostentatious displays of superiority serve as a smokescreen, obscuring their own insecurities and ensuring their manipulative machinations remain undetected. It's all a charade, meticulously orchestrated to perpetuate their control over others while shielding themselves from scrutiny. In summary, the vulnerabilities of narcissists eclipse any semblance of strength they may portray. Don't fall into their snare. You are not beneath them, and you don't deserve their mistreatment. If a narcissist is in your life, it's crucial to sever ties completely. There's no benefit in maintaining a relationship with such toxicity. Rather than striving to change them or seeking vengeance, the wisest choice is to walk away for good. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Until next time. Hello, wonderful people. Ever found yourself completely drained after encountering someone with narcissistic tendencies? You're definitely not alone in that experience. Many individuals end up seeking therapy to navigate the aftermath of such encounters. But what exactly causes this overwhelming exhaustion and confusion? In today's discussion, we're diving deep into the aftermath of interactions with narcissistic personalities. From unraveling the intricate dynamics of unhealthy relationships to navigating the fallout and smear campaigns orchestrated by narcissists, we'll be exploring it all. But before we delve into the topic, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our incredible viewers who make our content possible. If you enjoy what we bring to the table and wish to show your support, consider contributing even as little as $1 on our Ko-Fi page. Every contribution, regardless of its size, greatly aids us in maintaining and enhancing the quality of our content. As a special token of appreciation for those who choose to join as members, your name will be prominently featured at the outset of our videos, showcasing our gratitude for your generous support. Your support empowers us to keep creating the content you cherish, and we are immensely grateful for your indispensable role in our community. Find the Ko-Fi link in the description below and become a cherished member of our journey. So, ever pondered why narcissists are so hell-bent on painting themselves as victims while vilifying others? Well, stick around, because we're about to unravel the motives behind their manipulative tactics and shed some light on the dynamics of these toxic relationships. Don't forget to smash that like button, share this video far and wide, and hit subscribe to keep up with our enlightening discussions. Let's navigate this journey together. Now let's delve into the truth behind why narcissists are so fixated on playing the victim and the ripple effects it has on those in their orbit. Many individuals engage in such behavior for various reasons, not just those with full-blown narcissistic traits, but even those who are slightly off-kilter and rely on defense mechanisms. Their aim? To turn everyone against you, casting you as the villain. For those with narcissistic inclinations, it's all part of a manipulative game. It could also serve as a shield to deflect attention from their own flaws in the relationship, a tactic often employed. People generally struggle with admitting their mistakes in relationships. They'd rather shift blame and evade self-reflection. Regardless of their motives, dealing with this behavior can be incredibly frustrating. It's draining to realize that the person pulling the strings seems unrecognizable, and it's tough to stomach the lies being spun, knowing they're far from the truth. But don't internalize it. While it may feel like a direct assault, let's talk about the impact it has on individuals grappling with low self-esteem. Succumbing to these accusations can further erode your sense of self-worth. If everyone buys into the narrative that you're the problem, it chips away at your self-perception, leaving you questioning your worth. But don't succumb to the deception. Refuse to buy into the falsehoods. That's not why we're here. We're not here to be manipulated or missiled. We're here to learn to prioritize our well-being and self-care. Regrettably, their twisted approach is an attempt to nudge you towards self-assertion, self-love, and self-belief. However, it's a destructive tactic. It renders you vulnerable because now your self-esteem hinges on others' judgments, a perilous reliance. You shouldn't tether your sense of worth to external validation. Some individuals possess such fragile egos that diminishing others elevates their sense of power. You become their emotional punching bag, manipulate it to suit their desires while they revel in their control. It's not about your suffering, it's about their dominance. Empathy eludes them. They crave authority over you. It's a twisted reality, but that's their modus operandi. Whether it's a full-fledged narcissist or someone grappling with personal issues, they may resort to spreading rumors or casting you as the antagonist to bolster their self-image. It's a form of retribution because you failed to meet their expectations or withdrew your admiration. They seek to inflict pain to exact revenge, particularly if you once showered them with praise but ceased. They crave your attention, even if it's steeped in negativity and drama. Their outbursts stem from their own anguish, stemming from the perception that you're withholding what they crave or attempting to deflect accountability for their missteps. Hence, it's imperative not to internalize their behavior. They're merely executing their typical playbook, fabricating narratives to portray themselves as blameless. It's textbook manipulation. So don't allow their actions to affect you. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's merely a ploy to sway others to their side. So, I understand where you're coming from. You're probably thinking, okay, don't take it personally, but what's my next move? Here's the scoop: remain composed. It's easier said than done. Most folks fly off the handle, reacting impulsively. But letting emotions take the reins only escalates the situation. Stay poised, stay authentic. Just because someone throws shade your way doesn't warrant losing your cool. That's not a display of strength or confidence. Not everyone will sing your praises or side with you, and that's perfectly fine. Also, try to decipher their motives behind their actions. Are they attempting to conceal their own blunders, or are they craving attention because you've ceased showering them with praise? Once you grasp their intentions, you can halt emotional reactions. Our aim is to exude tranquility and authenticity, not engage in erratic behavior or internalize everything. Now, if legal matters come into play, document everything. Keep a record of threats, manipulations, the whole 9 yards. It could serve as vital evidence in the future. Now, on to the next step, and I know you've been eagerly anticipating this. You can present your side of the story, but here's the kicker. Do it confidently and calmly. You're not seeking validation from anyone, just lay out the facts. You can even shed light on what manipulation and narcissistic abuse entail. However, tread carefully here. Steer clear of emotions like anger or resentment. Stick to the cold, hard facts. Lastly, start nurturing your ego. This isn't about fairness or swaying everyone to your side. It's a strategic maneuver. You're mastering the art of standing your ground and validating yourself without depending on external validation. If you're trekking through the labyrinth of dealing with narcissistic behavior, my empathy goes out to you. It's a daunting path, one that demands significant inner reflection. Maintaining your equilibrium, taming your ego, and resisting the impulse to retaliate are formidable tasks in themselves. Even if we grasp the motivations behind someone's actions, it's still a challenge not to internalize them. It's an ongoing journey that demands continual dedication and practice. If you're caught in this vortex, I urge you to perceive it as an opportunity for evolution and self-unveiling. Harness it as a platform to fortify your capacity to stay rooted, assertive, and self-assured. Remember to validate yourself and your journey rather than seeking external validation. I trust you gleaned insight from today's discourse. If you did, kindly consider subscribing to my channel for more enriching content. Thank you for tuning in, and take good care of yourself. Within each of us lies a natural longing to be seen, heard, and valued for our unique essence. Yet, what transpires when this longing mutates into an unhealthy fixation on ourselves? When we become so consumed with our own image that we're willing to deceive and injure others in the relentless pursuit of our desires. Regrettably, narcissistic tendencies encapsulate this moral quandary, and it's likely that we've all encountered someone who embodies such traits. If you've ever found yourself victimized by a narcissist, you comprehend the deep-seated anguish it can induce. But what if there existed a method to tilt the scales and inflict suffering upon them? Let me clarify, seeking vengeance is never an honorable path to tread. Nevertheless, there exist strategies one can employ to safeguard oneself and delineate healthy boundaries when entangled with a narcissistic individual. Below, I present 10 efficacious tactics for navigating the intricate terrain of relationships with narcissists. 1. Mastering the art of ignoring a narcissist can wield significant power in unsettling them. Their obsession with self-importance ignites fury when they encounter disregard. By employing a blend of direct and indirect indifference, such as ignoring their messages or refusing to let them infiltrate your life, you can yield favorable results. Through this act of disengagement, you chip away at their perceived dominance, rendering them powerless, their greatest dread. 2. Elevate yourself above their negative remarks and shield your self-esteem from their influence. Narcissists delight in cynically critiquing others, deriving twisted pleasure from dismantling their confidence. While it may prove challenging to remain impervious to their attacks, especially if your self-worth is fragile, it's vital to recognize that their criticisms reflect their own deep-rooted flaws and insecurities. 3. Cultivate self-assurance and confidence as a shield against narcissistic individuals. These characters tend to shy away from those radiating self-assurance and competence. Their modus operandi involves diminishing others to camouflage their own inadequacies. They seize every opportunity to criticize, striving to assert dominance. As your self-confidence blooms, their ability to influence or manipulate you dwindles. By questioning their baseless self-assurance or sense of superiority, you thrust them onto the defensive, making it substantially harder for them to ensnare you. Remember, navigating relationships with narcissists requires finesse and patience. The key lies in safeguarding your emotional well-being while adeptly establishing boundaries. Armed with these tactics, you hold the power to shield yourself from the detrimental effects of narcissistic manipulation. Fourthly, one of the most potent ways to rattle an ego is by radiating your own happiness. The self-centered nature of narcissists renders them unable to tolerate the success and joy of others, as it shifts focus away from themselves. By authentically embracing your own happiness and fulfillment, they will perceive that you have no inclination to indulge their insatiable craving for attention. Moreover, resist seeking validation or approval from a narcissist. Instead, channel your energy into activities and relationships that bring genuine fulfillment. Understand that narcissists are indifferent to your happiness and derive perverse pleasure from your distress. Their quest for self-gratification drives this callous behavior. Refuse to let them drag you down or snatch away their happiness. Fifthly, swiftly reject their demands without hesitation. Narcissists harbor an insatiable hunger for attention and will resort to extreme measures to remain in the spotlight. Although you might feel tempted to comply with their requests and shower them with undue attention to diffuse the tension, doing so only fuels their entitlement and reinforces their self-centered behavior. The most effective way to counter their influence is by refusing to comply, prioritizing your own needs, and disregarding their demands. Once a narcissist realizes they cannot manipulate you into fulfilling their desires, they will swiftly seek out their next target. Sixthly, pay no heed to their manipulative rhetoric. Narcissists often prioritize their own needs over the feelings of others, using hurtful words to inflict emotional pain or incite anger. It's vital to recognize that their hurtful remarks do not reflect your true worth. Instead, they twist language to deflect attention from their own faults and place blame on you. Remember your intrinsic value and steadfastly refuse to let their words chip away at your self-esteem. By denying them the satisfaction of witnessing your reaction, you bolster your resilience. Have the courage to say no without guilt. Narcissists exploit others by reveling in their control and satisfaction of personal desires. To achieve their aims, they shamelessly burden their victims with feelings of guilt, insinuating they haven't done enough to fulfill their desires. But you hold the power to defend yourself simply by uttering the word no. Refuse to be weighed down by guilt or ensnared in their manipulative schemes. Prioritize your own well-being above all else, understanding that narcissists are solely concerned with their own gratification. Number 8. Embrace authenticity unapologetically. When confronted by a narcissist seeking to undermine your self-worth, it's natural to feel provoked and inclined to offer an apology. However, apologizing only serves to empower the narcissist and perpetuate the cycle of degradation. It implies acceptance and validation of their inappropriate behavior. Never apologize for staying true to yourself, even if it momentarily discomforts you. Assert your worth and refuse to let the narcissist diminish it through disagreement. Remember, respect, love, and kindness are inherent qualities, irrespective of the narcissist's judgments. Their approval holds no sway over your intrinsic value. 9. Confrontation and accountability. Narcissists harbor an exaggerated sense of superiority, recoiling at any form of criticism, even when it's intended for their betterment. It's crucial to address how their actions impact others and establish clear boundaries. Direct, face-to-face communication is essential in holding narcissists responsible for their conduct. This approach not only mitigates the harm caused by their self-centeredness, but also encourages them to introspect and behave more conscientiously. Narcissists are adept at manipulation and adeptly deflect blame onto others or external circumstances. Asserting oneself by confronting a narcissist about their misdeeds or rudeness is crucial. Surprisingly, showering them with excessive kindness may fuel their negative behavior further, potentially leading them to avoid situations that expose their insecurities. To avoid being ensnared by a narcissist's manipulative tactics, it's essential to stay true to your principles. Establishing clear and unwavering boundaries becomes paramount, as narcissists remain impervious to the opinions of others. Despite initially presenting themselves pleasantly, be wary of potential exploitation through unwarranted demands or undeserved favors. Refuse to fall prey to their ploys. A simple no or "I'm sorry, but that's not possible" suffices. Should a narcissist persist in contacting you or seeking your company, exercising your right to cease communication or remove yourself from their presence is entirely justified. Narcissists tirelessly shield their fragile self-esteem, avoiding circumstances that could potentially undermine their carefully crafted image or subject them to criticism. Consequently, their efforts to maintain their facade rival their pursuit of societal advancement. Breaking free from a narcissist's grip may necessitate severing all ties and completely eradicating their presence from your life. Remember, establishing firm boundaries and steadfastly resisting their demands is the most potent defense against their manipulative tactics. We sincerely value your time spent watching this video. If you found it helpful, please consider leaving a comment, giving it a thumbs up, and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement and support are immensely appreciated. Today, let's delve into the intriguing topic of how narcissism evolves with age, as we explore 7 key indicators of deteriorating behavior. But before we embark on this journey, take a moment to reflect on your own teenage and early adult years, a period characterized by growth, learning, and inevitable missteps. In stark contrast to the natural process of maturation, aging narcissists often amplify their negative traits, leading to a regression in both their personal relationships and overall life. From forsaking love to grappling with fractured relationships, these red flags serve as stark reminders of this regression. If you find this discussion enlightening, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for future updates. Let's take a moment to reflect on our own journey before delving into the intricacies of this topic. Consider your teenage years or the onset of adulthood. Can you honestly claim to have navigated that period without a stumble or a misstep? Were you always impeccably sensitive, right and flawless in every thought, word, and deed? It's unlikely. Most of us recognize that during those formative years, we were still in flux, evolving and maturing. Moreover, scientific research tells us that the human brain doesn't reach full maturity until around the age of 25. During adolescence, it's common for individuals to exhibit selfish and demanding behaviors. However, we refrain from labeling them as narcissists because they're still in the process of development. We hold on to the hope that as they progress into adulthood and navigate life's experiences, they will cultivate virtues like kindness, honesty, respect, and compassion, a process we commonly refer to as maturation. Contrary to this trajectory, narcissists tend to exacerbate the very traits that define their narcissism as they age. Instead of evolving positively, their behavior often deteriorates over time. They become increasingly controlling, selfish, arrogant, and less attuned to the needs of others. Their defensiveness intensifies, and their distorted perception of reality becomes more entrenched. Today, we'll explore 7 telltale signs indicating a deepening selfishness, signaling a departure from emotional maturity in both personal relationships and broader contexts. As narcissism deepens with age, one of the initial indicators to watch for is the narcissist relinquishing the notion of love. Initially, they may feign care and affection, whether in intimate relationships, friendships, or within familial circles. Even in professional settings, they might exhibit a facade of camaraderie, underscoring the importance they place on maintaining favorable relationships. However, as narcissists mature, their focus shifts from nurturing bonds with others to accruing power. Their demeanor adopts a dictatorial, controlling, and authoritarian tone, treating those around them as mere subjects under their dominion. This shift underscores their inflated sense of self-importance, replacing genuine love with a domineering demeanor that reinforces their belief in entitlement. A subsequent red flag indicating the exacerbation of narcissism is the narcissist's inability to glean insights from their past mistakes and adversities. Reflecting on their history, one can discern a recurrent pattern of failed relationships. However, rather than introspecting and contemplating their role in these shortcomings, narcissists adopt a victim mentality, deflecting accountability onto external factors. They rationalize their missteps by attributing them to others' misunderstandings, disagreements, or inherent differences. This dichotomous thinking, devoid of nuance or introspection, fuels their narcissistic tendencies, leading to increased displays of contemptuous behavior, such as hurling insults and derogatory remarks at others. A conspicuous hallmark of their escalating narcissism is their reluctance to engage in self-reflection and critical analysis, particularly evident in their failure to learn from past errors. In the third indication, we observe how narcissists consistently evade acknowledgement of their shadow self. This shadow self represents the aspects of one's history fraught with mistakes, misjudgments, or unresolved traumas. It encapsulates experiences that may evoke discomfort or pain. However, narcissists typically exhibit reluctance to confront these facets of their past. Even when confronted with their shadow self, especially if it triggers feelings of anger or indignation, they adamantly refuse to engage with it. This aversion fosters inner turmoil, contributing to emotional instability and hindering their ability to foster meaningful connections with others. Their steadfast denial of the need for introspection regarding these painful aspects of themselves serves as yet another testament to the exacerbation of their narcissistic traits. The fourth indication highlighting the deepening narcissism pertains to their steadfast refusal to acknowledge their own humanity. Consequently, they meticulously craft an image of themselves characterized by superiority or flawlessness. They uphold idealized notions of self-perfection and strive to project an aura of superiority over others. Maintaining this elevated status becomes paramount to them, often at the expense of those around them. Moreover, they wholeheartedly embrace their distorted self-perceptions, firmly convinced of their inherent superiority. In essence, they internalize these delusions, steadfastly denying the possibility of standing on equal footing with others. The fifth indication pointing to the worsening state of a narcissist is their inclination to gather around themselves a cohort of subservient individuals, often referred to as their flying monkeys. They actively seek out individuals whom they perceive as easily dominated or those who unquestioningly agree with their viewpoints. A distinct characteristic of narcissists is their disdain for diversity of thought. They recoil from the notion that someone or a group might possess differing perspectives. Rather than embracing diversity as a means of intellectual enrichment and personal development, they gravitate towards those who echo their own narrow-minded views. Consequently, they stagnate in personal growth and fail to evolve, opting instead to exert control over those who share their singular mindset. This proclivity to encircle themselves with like-minded individuals, coupled with their aversion to diversity, serves as yet another unequivocal indicator of the deterioration of narcissistic traits. The sixth sign indicating a worsening state of narcissism lies in how narcissists handle the fallout of their deteriorating relationships. As the relationships inevitably crumble, they resort to self-serving rationalizations to absolve themselves of blame. They are adept at employing convoluted reasoning to justify their actions. For instance, if their mistreatment, excessive criticism, unavailability, or passive-aggressive behavior leads to a string of failed relationships, they deflect blame onto others. They might assert, "I simply chose someone who was weak," or "that person had too many insecurities and issues." By shifting responsibility in this manner, they refuse to acknowledge their own role in the breakdown of relationships. When confronted with their accountability, they swiftly deflect, insisting, "It couldn't possibly be me." They cling to certain beliefs about themselves and others, using them as justifications for their distorted perspectives. In truth, they struggle to be honest with themselves, often resorting to self-deception to uphold their distorted self-image. This inclination to rationalize failed relationships in self-serving ways serves as a glaring indication of the deepening of narcissistic traits. The seventh indicator pointing to the worsening of narcissism with age lies in their penchant for keeping others on the defensive. They've become adept at using defensive tactics as a means to assert dominance and cast themselves in the right light. They resort to accusations, shaming, and guilt-tripping to paint you as someone hiding something or burdened with numerous issues. Unlike most, they don't approach interactions with the assumption of shared humanity, a point we've already explored. They lack empathy for your human experience and instead strive to put you on the defensive. While you're busy justifying your actions or crumbling under their scrutiny, they skillfully position themselves as the superior party in the dynamic. Upon reflection, it's evident that as individuals transition from adolescence into adulthood and beyond, there's potential for personal growth and maturation. However, in the case of narcissists, not only do they fail to evolve and mature, but their narcissistic traits become deeply entrenched. A fundamental aspect of this stagnation is their refusal to disentangle themselves from maladaptive traits. Instead, they persistently shift blame onto others and evade accountability. This pattern of behavior becomes increasingly exaggerated over time, transforming them into caricatures of themselves and tragically embodying cruelty in its purest form. If you notice these behaviors, especially as you progress into adulthood or interact with individuals entering their senior years, it's important to recognize that it's not your duty to reform them. Maturity is an internal journey, and while you can share your perspectives and how their actions affect you, it's unrealistic to expect that you'll be the catalyst for change in their behavior. Moreover, don't buy into the notion that their faults are somehow your responsibility. These individuals lack fundamental empathy and are unwilling to develop deeper connections with others. Instead, they cling to an idealized self-image, refusing to confront their own shortcomings. When navigating the complexities of dealing with a worsening narcissist, a vital lesson to grasp is the significance of self-preservation. Recognizing that you can't alter someone who fails to acknowledge their behavior can spare you from considerable stress and disillusionment. Prioritize your mental well-being and inner peace above all else. Understand that it's not your responsibility to mend them. Your duty lies in safeguarding and nurturing yourself. Those whose narcissism escalates are not the pillars of reliable connection or sources of positive influence. Instead of seeking guidance or inspiration from them, focus on discerning genuine maturity. True growth transcends the illusionary and self-serving mindset characteristic of narcissists. I encourage you to remain steadfast on your path of personal evolution. Avoid expending excessive energy attempting to convince the narcissist to change, at the risk of neglecting your own growth. You wield the greatest influence over your own journey. Embrace your autonomy as a fully fledged adult, committed to continuous self-improvement. Despite encountering narcissists along the way, may your journey lead you to perpetual growth and inner tranquility. Narcissists never believe you will do this, because it ends up making them suffer. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for this captivating discussion. Today, we're diving into the intriguing realm of surprising actions that catch narcissists off guard. If you're enjoying the content, don't hesitate to express your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. However, the spotlight of this video shines on a particular action that typically leaves them astounded. But before we unravel that, let's take a moment to reflect on your encounters with narcissists and their impact on your life. What kind of dynamic did you experience, and how has it influenced your journey? Often, engaging with a narcissistic individual occurs without recognizing the telltale signs, driven by a lack of awareness or understanding of narcissism. It's easy to attribute relationship challenges to merely enduring a rough patch, perhaps attributing the issues to the individual's personal struggles or their mistreatment of you. Yet, the notion of narcissism might not have crossed your mind. Despite this, you persisted in investing your time, energy, and emotions into the relationship. As previously discussed, your unwavering commitment to the relationship led to a gradual erosion of various facets of your life: your time, finances, social connections, and even your well-being. Essentially, you poured yourself into a relationship that yielded little in return, leaving you depleted. Meanwhile, the narcissist actively sabotaged your efforts, akin to puncturing holes in a canoe while you navigated against the current. Their objective? To ensure your vessel sank while they smoothly transitioned to the next target in line. The intricate dance of narcissistic abuse is a labyrinth of manipulative strategies, all meticulously crafted to exploit your innate kindness and compassion. While you extended your hand in generosity, the narcissist eagerly grasped, leaving behind a trail of devastation. It's imperative to grasp the fundamental disparity between your mindset and that of the narcissist. They dwell in a realm devoid of introspection and accountability, opting instead to feed off others until they are drained, then callously discarding them. One must recognize that the next target in the narcissist's crosshairs often arrives swiftly, clad in the guise of a fresh face. Just as they once sought solace in your presence as the new source of supply, they will inevitably gravitate towards another unsuspecting soul once your reserves have been exhausted. Whether it's a rekindled acquaintance, a resurrected flame, or an entirely novel individual, the pattern remains unchanged: exploit, discard, and move on to the next conquest. A multitude of factors converge to sustain the vicious cycle of narcissistic abuse. It's paramount to acknowledge that this cycle persists relentlessly, with the narcissist serving as the unwavering focal point. They are keenly aware of the psychological web they weave, acknowledging the suffocating aura of anxiety that envelops their existence. Armed with their chameleon-like abilities, they don masks of deception, driven by sporadic impulses to assert dominance. Living with a narcissist is akin to traversing a maze between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where every twist and turn brings uncertainty and emotional turmoil. Victims find themselves on a relentless roller coaster ride, never quite sure of the true nature of their relationship. So when faced with the cold shoulder or verbal onslaught from their partner, where does one seek solace? Many turn to the vast expanse of the internet, hoping to glean rare pearls of wisdom amidst the overwhelming sea of information. This marks the genesis of a transformative journey towards self-discovery and enlightenment about narcissism. The narcissist, caught off guard by the victim's burgeoning awareness, never anticipated such scrutiny. Having meticulously assessed their prey's desires, strengths, and vulnerabilities at the relationship's inception, they crafted a carefully curated image to ensnare their target. Viewing the victim as little more than a pawn to satisfy their ceaseless hunger for validation and dominance, the narcissist skillfully weaves a facade of charm to cloak their true intentions. As the victim unwittingly succumbs